sure that I am not stuttering, jittering, any of that mess, since that's a thing I need to worry about. Do 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 do. Am I still stuttering, jittering mess? Do 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 do. Cool, I'm not. Sweet. That took some time. All right, guys. So, hi, I'm CJ, the owner and CEO of the Geek.io Media Network LLC. Uh, and normally we do a Geek.io show for the last damn near 7 years, um, if not longer, going over the last year and stuff like that. But anybody who's been following here or on the Discord, geek-io.net/Discord, um, any of that, or the twitter.com/geekio show, or the lack of hi Dale, or the lack of updates on the Facebook or anything like that, uh, can tell that we've had some changes here in the network in 2019. And I'm going to go over the stuff that we changed in 2019, the good, the bad, the indifferent. I'm going to get kind of personal, um, let you guys know what's going on. Um, and then going forward into the future as well, what we're looking at in 2020. So let's start off with the good. Let's start with the very first thing that I did this year, for first major thing that I did for Geek.io this year. Um, I LLC'd us. That was a big deal for me personally. I've always ran Geek.io as a business. And previous to that, Tadpool Tech as a business. I've worked in radio and television production in the past. I've worked with broadcasting. I've worked with all these things, and I kind of took all of that and made it into a small business. I've never received a um, paycheck. I've never done anything like that. Still haven't made the money to do that yet. Certainly working my full time job. Um, but this year, I finally took the leap to begin the process of doing this whole thing as a real, making it a real boy. So on January this year, I LLC Geek.io Media Network LLC. Um, there are two employees, myself and Rachel. I am the CEO, um, and functionally COO as well. And Rachel is our no Rachel. I am the CEO and CIO technically right now, or president, co-president. Um, Rachel is the functional CFO and COO, as well as co-president as well. Um, I have some people helping me out with business. I'm in school for business right now, so I have a pretty decent flow on how business is handled. I've run entire IT departments. I've helped run companies. So, um, but I'm not perfect. I've had some very big, major explosions in the past. So he's always been by my side all 7 years that we've been doing Geek.io. He's in the chat right now. Dale, he was working a lot more with us. Obviously, he got super busy with a job, his dream job, because he finally decided to listen to me. I'm going to move my microphone here closer to me because I am tired and I want to just kind of chill. Um, he got his dream job, and I am never ever going to tell anybody that no, this job that doesn't pay is more important than your dreams. because it's my dream doesn't mean that it's everybody else's dream. We'll get to that in a second. Um, but he was helping me out a lot. He took on production side of things while I was handling the front of the house things. Dale, hi Lum on YouTube. Um, Dale took over all of the back of the house stuff, and I took over all the front of the house stuff. And we worked really well together. Dale and I made the business a business. Um, he and I were working together on decks, on marketing, and everything like that. And we were rolling. We were rolling super well. Um, and it was fantastic the first few months. We had a proper production side of things set up. Well, for the first few years, I think it was 3 or so years ago, Dale finally started doing the production side of things. We've had a producer since the beginning of Tadpole Tech with John Slater. Well, not the beginning of Tadpole Tech. A dozen or so episodes in. John Slater was our first producer because there for the longest time, I didn't want to do the. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to do the back end stuff. I was incredibly busy when I started this entire podcasting thing 8 years ago. I had 2 young children, and my first episode that I ever did of Tadpole Tech took me 8.5 hours to edit. And I said, I don't have the time for that as a young family. So I asked my friend John to come on and do the back end stuff while I hosted and took care of the business stuff. And that was fine for a while. Then Jared Budlong joined up with us, and John and I had some creative differences. We've made up since then, thankfully. Um, so that's nice. Um, Jared Budlong came on, started handling the back of the house stuff because that's stuff that he actually did, so was legitimately good at it. And he took that on forever. He did that for the longest time. Then he had some personal stuff he had to back down from doing it. That's when Dale stuff came in. Um, and we started growing. Dale and I Dale and I worked together like chocolate and peanut butter and jelly. Um, Dale and I mesh so very well. And at the time, it was primarily Dale, uh, Rachel most of the time, but myself, Dale, and Jared Esvito. We were the three primary people going, and we were strong. It was working so well. Hold on, Rachel's texting me because like I said, this is kind of a chill stream. I might be doing some games after this. Is unlocked. I'm streaming. Um, and Dale, feel free to tell me if any of this is factually incorrect, please. Um, but uh, yeah, Budlong helped Dale out a lot with his stuff, but we grew, we expanded. It was just Geek.io show, and then Jazz and I spun off. No, I remember why Budlong stepped down originally. He started doing How It Stacks. That's why he stepped down. And we had competing recording schedules. Um, so Coco. Um, Tokoyami. It's mommy. Yes, bork, bork, bork. Plus, he got his dream job. Yes. Again, just please don't take this job that doesn't pay anybody, including myself. Uh, don't take your dreams before, do your dreams here, before me. But Dale came on and we started going real big. We spun up S4. We started doing D&D. Nanapool at the time. Well, it was still Geek.io show at the time. Um, and we spun into doing D&D shows. And no, it wasn't Gamer Geeks yet, but it was just S4 Geek IO show, Mana Pool. Um, How It Stacks, Tokoyami, How It Stacks, Generic Live Show. No, may have been one of Dale's other shows before Generic Live Show, but we expanded. It was great. And then Dale wanted, we realized Dale was super. We brought on Raul as a host at the time, and he wanted to do more back end stuff. Um, Terrible Tuesday movie night. That's what it was. Um, but Raul wanted to do more back end stuff, so I'm like, okay, cool. Dale trained Raul up how to be our producer. And with Raul on and Dale on, we had two producers. And still my favorite podcast of all time is Terrible Tuesday Movie Night. Between Terrible Tuesday Movie Night and How It Stacks, I'm not allowed to love podcasts because they all go away. Um, we went on and expanded even further, and I met Josh and Carrie at, and there's a point to this, trust me. I promise there's a point to this. It's not just the history of Geek.io. Met Josh and Carrie, and at this time, Rachel was knee deep in her um, master's degree, and we had some issues with Mana Pool recordings and stuff like that. And I was having a panic attack in front of a GameStop, uh, and Josh and Carrie joined up with us. And with that, Jazz stepped down from the Thursday night stuff and just started doing S4 together, and that was fine. Jazz took over at that point as our webmaster and working on all of our super back end stuff, like our website, and he helped out with a bunch of CSS and programming. Um, Anything that I did not know how to do technically, he took care of it because he is amazing. Um, Daryl had came on with us as well in that meantime as our graphic person and also our S4 uh, overseas correspondent, and it was glorious. We had a great team going, and I continued to run everything like a business. And I admit I expected a lot of everybody because I expected it out of myself. And I've always run shows that I've done as I expect nothing less out of you that I don't expect out of myself. When Dale had issues recording or producing, I stood up. When Raul couldn't do it, I stood up. But I expected everyone else to do that. And I lost touch with a lot of people personally. And this is where my spiral begins downwards. Um, Tokoyami. People are allowed to exist. Um, I started losing touch with people personally, and I started losing touch with myself mentally. Um, Outside of Geek.io, I apparently was still pleasant and was personable, and I was doing conventions and traveling, and it was fantastic. I was living my dream. I was getting paid to go to Gen Con. I was a guest of honor at Dragon Con, or not guest of honor, attending professional at Dragon Con. I got paid to go to Origins. I did PAX East. I did PAX South. Um, we got invited to go to Game X, I believe it was, in England that Daryl went to. It was amazing, but I ran it like a business, losing track of what was really accurate. I kept pushing people because I was pushing myself. And I was treating this like a business because I was marketing. I was trying to sell. I was not the business, but try to sell services, things like that. Um, had an entire business deck set up, marketing plan. Hell, I was getting ready to hire Dale as an employee. Um, and that was the plan until everything fell apart. Last year, we made enough money to take um, we had enough money to do a company dinner at DragonCon, and it was great. All of us were there, and that was the pinnacle of us. And spun into 2019. Like, yes, this year's gonna be great. Raul had moved to Florida, um, and I kept pushing, and I was getting further and further deeper into depression. My mental health was failing miserably. The worst I had felt in easily 15 years. And I was lashing out. I lashed out a lot, and I lashed out at my friends. And because I ran this as a company, I was taking everything too hard. I was taking everything too on the chin when it didn't need to be. I was taking everything too personally, to a point where even Carrie and Josh had started coining it business CJ versus friend CJ. And I was ignoring everything. Rachel and I had separated for a year. We're back together now, obviously. Um, and I was ignoring myself. And that was bad. Very bad. I am diagnosed bipolar, manic depressive, and PTSD. I had ignored all of that. Just kept going forward. Normally, I take a vacation. I didn't even take a vacation for 3 years from Geek.io. 3 out of the 7 years, I just kept going, growing and expanding, growing and expanding, growing and expanding. Uh, Not 2018, but 2017, I traveled. I spent $7,000 in airfare alone, traveling the country. Um, and ignoring my family, ignoring my friends. And when Dale got his dream job at Disney World, um, that should have been my big eye-opening moment. That there was a part of me, the stupid part of me, that took it as a slight that he wasn't willing to work with me. And um, damn near cost Dale and I our friendship, which would have killed me. Dale is my best friend, has been pretty much since I got to know him. Um, there's a lot of history between Dale and I, and we've only known each other for a little over 7 years. Time Hop reminded me of today when I announced in January 7 years ago that we were becoming Geek.io, and our original handle was Geek Input Output. And Dale texted or put me on Twitter and said, "Hey, buddy, are you going away from the Tadpole things? Because I really liked those." And Tadpole, for those who don't know, is a fan group of the Frog Pants podcast network where Dale and I met. And I'm like, no, we did, but I didn't know that. But we've had a strong relationship since then, incredibly strong, stronger than I can only count one person who I've had a stronger relationship with than she's been my wife for 16 years. That's all I'm saying at that one. But um, I almost lost my friend, my best friend, and that would have killed me. That brought us to 2019. It's the year that I'm like, hey, it's gonna be a business. Finally, officially, yes. Gonna be a business and I'm gonna work and I'm gonna open up a freaking studio. I was pricing studios this year, you guys. That was the single stupidest thing that I've ever done. I let myself get so far ahead. I put the cart so far ahead of the horse. The horse didn't even know it was supposed to be pulling a cart. I was looking at thousands of dollars a month in studios, you guys. Oh my God. And more and more, I was getting depressed and feeling like I was hitting a brick wall. And then Rachel got pregnant. Well, Rachel was pregnant last year, but we had our baby. And before that, yes, between January and April, um, Raul um, stepped down. And that was when everything started going downhill fully. Raul stepped down, and I've heard through the grapevine because he didn't like the way that I was ignoring him personally and treating him like an employee. And I had forgotten that Raul was first and foremost my friend. Raul was on my very first podcast. And I forgot that he was my friend. And Raul lives 5 minutes from me. And I haven't spoken to him since February or March. And I'm never going to be able to forgive myself for that. Um, our youngest son, Grayson, was born in April. It's great. It's fantastic. I finally felt like there was a light in my life again. And 10 days after he was born, I went into the hospital with gallbladder failure, and spent 5 days in a hospital um, in a job that I hated, real world job that I hated. And came out of there, and I felt the lowest that I had in forever. I lost a dear friend of mine, and I lost a part of myself. And I realized quickly that I was burning myself out. I started seeing a therapist again. Um, and it was around that time we wrapped up Exploding Dice Ravnica. And I said, I almost said I'm done. I'm not going to lie. Uh, less than 6 months after I LLC'd our business, I almost said I'm done. Grayson's very tired. He hasn't slept all day. uh, about said I was done. I couldn't take it anymore. I was in school for business. I lost almost all of my entire support system, and I was drowning. I was drowning in jobs that I hated. I was drowning in work that I had to do for Geek.io. And quickly realizing after Raul left that, yeah, there was a lot of. I was a dick. I was a dick. And Dale, I'm sorry. And Raul, if you ever hear this, Carrie, if you ever hear this, I'm sorry. And Budlong and John, if I was a dick to you guys, I'm sorry. I don't think that I was. I feel I got this way relatively recently. Um, I realized that I was almost cruel, and I can never really take that back. You can't take back the things that you did in the past. You can only learn with them and go forward with them. And I'm working on that still. Um, Jazz and I agreed to continue doing S4 because it was um, easy. It's an easy show to do. We watch TV, we talk about TV. It's just he and I. There's not a lot of post production. It is making the gigantic silences not so gigantic and putting it up. So Jazz and I kept doing S4. Small screen spoiler show for those who don't know. Because I didn't want to lose my creative outlet. I started podcasting to be less of an introvert. Um, I've become kind of what's called an omnivert, which is kind of a cool thing to be. But I, Raul and I had the falling out. Felix, who was a mainstay on Exploding Dice Manifold, stopped communicating with me. Um, Josh and Carrie and I had some creative differences. And on episode 300 of the Geek IO show was when we first moved into our new home, which we bought. We bought our own house for the first time in 2019. And it's just been crazy, you guys. Um, and episode 300, I got on. Dale was able to be on, but could not help produce. And I hadn't figured out my technical issues yet here, my new setup, because my mixer broke during the move, and I still haven't been able to afford another one yet because they're expensive. And episode 300 could not get off the ground because of the tech problems that we were having. And I exploded at that time. Absolutely exploded. I hit the wall. I burned out creatively. I pushed everybody away from me. I hadn't been to the doctor yet to get my prescriptions. I exploded. And it's all because I neglected myself. And yes, it sounds selfish, but I let my mental health, my mental demons, my all of my demons get to me. And it's just I became a black hole and wasn't going to do anything else, by the way. I was just completely done. I was done with EXD. I was done with Geek IO show. I was done with everything except for S4 because it was the only goddamn thing that I wanted to do. And then my therapist and I started working together, and I got a new job that was less sucky, but still sucky, than my previous one. That I was on a bus for 3 hours for each way, and treated like a child at. I ignored my mental health. I worked here. I worked at work. I was a father of three. And I was a student, full-time student. I was taking 16 credits last semester. Rachel quoted that she did less work on her last semester as a master's student than I was doing my freaking fourth semester as an associate's degree student. Wrap that up in your heads. I was fucking done. And then two people came to me about exploding dice stuff. Um, we were planning on redoing either the next season of Xanthuru or going back to Athalor. And I was back before everything exploded. I was back in the mood to DM. I was ready. I was willing. I did the Ravnica stuff. I'm like, yes, I'm going to keep going with this creative stuff because I'm so totally in before I exploded. And eventually, we Rachel and I sat down and said, I want to keep doing EXD. And she says, I want to keep doing EXD. She missed being in Ravnica, but she was so busy being, pregnant and getting a master's degree, freaking 3.97 GPA on her master's degree. Freaking graduated with summa cum laude, I believe. Like one of the highest people in her class. So she was busy during Ravnica and only got to guest star with us a couple of times. And she goes, I want to keep playing. I want to keep doing the podcast D&D because that's fun. The home game is great, but podcast D&D is something else. And I said, okay, but I want to do it around the table because the dick part of me wanted to be able to have better control over everything. The business part of me said it's just easier to manage. But the personal part of me wanted to see the looks in my friends' eyes when we were playing D&D. And that is when I said, hey, we're going to get the obviously Rachel wanted to play Peru Run again. She loved Peru Run. And I asked Delbert from the Xanthuru campaign, who came in very late in it, who he and I had falling out, not related to Geek.io stuff, but he and I, you guys know him from, I mean, he was a little bit in Xanthuru. Um, sorry, emotional. But he and I did Gamer Geeks together. And um, he and I had a falling out and we reconciled finally. And it was great. It was good. I asked him to come back on and he said that he would. Um, I asked a longtime friend of mine, Kira, if she would come on. She used to play at our home game together and has been on a couple Gamer Geek tabletops. And she came on, and my coworker Scott, who is a fantastic individual, he rounded up our four because I wanted it to be a small table. And I wanted it to be something different and new and fresh. And we did. And we've recorded 8 episodes now. 8 episodes? 9 episodes. 9 episodes. And they're all video. And I'm going to be working next weekend to get the first 4 scheduled. The video is kind of shit on the first 2 because it was the first full recording here in my new house / the Geek.io studios. It's better now. It's a lot better now, actually. And but the first 2 episodes, the audio's fine. The video's bad. The video's bad. First time doing something like that though. So, but it's good. I feel that this season of Exploding Dice is going to be the best that we've ever had. And I don't know if it's between I've gotten better as a DM. The players are just fully in on the story and what we're telling, and they're in on their characters.